Are you confused on how to get to the LEGO Star Wars update? Not sure where to get the cool new weapons or builds? Sit back and relax while I walk you through everything you need to know about the latest update in LEGO Fortnite. Check the description for timestamps if you are not patient. When you first spawn into your world, there will be a blue rift that appears in the sky. As you approach this rift, it will slowly grow and grow until a myriad of ships breaks through. Once the Star Destroyer passes and crashes in the distance, Captain Bravara will appear and ask you to assist her and her rebel allies. She will give you a pair of macro binoculars, but don't worry, if you lose those, you can make another pair at any rebel workbench. Equip the macro binoculars and use them to search for a rebel icon in your overworld. It should be pretty obvious. Traveling to this icon will take you to a rebel bunker, which looks similar to a cave with rebel troopers stationed outside. You can pass freely from the Star Wars island back to your main world at any time, so don't worry about not being able to return if you don't have your best gear. The tunnel is a long walk and will spit you out on the Star Wars island, which is about 20% the size of the main world. This island appears to be static across each LEGO Fortnite world and will be the same with the locations of biomes, bunkers, forts, rebel village, etc. Use the macro binoculars once you exit the cave to the island and look for a rebel symbol in the shape of a badge. It should be close to the bunker. The rebel village levels up similar to the regular village, where you will need to add builds inside the village radius to increase the rating. Different levels have different tasks that need to be completed, where these can range from defeating Imperials and looting chests to constructing specific rebel builds. Here are the specific tasks needed to complete each rebel village level. To upgrade to level 2, you need to complete the Essentials task. The first stage is to help rebels clear a site for shelter by destroying debris within the hologram. Stage 2 is craft beds in the outpost to prepare for the arrival of new rebels. You will also need 5 pumpkins in your inventory. To upgrade to level 3, you will need to complete So This Is How Democracy Crafts task, which you will need to place a crafting bench in the rebel outpost. You will also need 3 short swords in your inventory. To upgrade to level 4, you need to complete the Missing Wookiee task. Stage 1 is clearing a site for the rebel stables by destroying debris within the hologram. Stage 2 is attract Grolf to the outpost by completing the rebel stables build. You will also need to craft a barn so Grolf can care for the animals. To upgrade to level 5, you need to complete the Nosy Bucketheads task, which is defend the rebel outpost by defeating stormtroopers. You need to defeat 10 of these. You also need to have 20 plastoid in your inventory. To upgrade to level 6, you will need to complete Now This Is Engineering task. Stage 1 is clearing a site for the rebel workshop by destroying debris within the hologram. Stage 2 is creating a new workshop for Myrna Rondo by completing the rebel workshop build. And stage 3 is crafting a place for Myrna to sleep. You also need to complete the Hive of Innovation and Discovery task, which is crafting a rebel workbench for Myrna to tinker at. To upgrade to level 7, you need to complete In a Bunker Far Far Away task, which is exploring your first Empire bunker. You will also need to have 3 DL-44 blasters in your inventory. To upgrade to level 8, you will need to complete the Surveillance Protocol task. Stage 1 is clearing a site for the rebel lookout by destroying debris within the hologram. Stage 2 is helping Captain Bravara improve defenses by completing the rebel lookout build. You will also need to complete the Empire Strike Fast task, which is defend the rebel outpost by defeating Imperial officers. You will need to defeat 3 of these. To upgrade to level 9, you will need to complete the Scoundrel Behavior task, which is searching Empire containers for useful loot. You will need to search 5 of these. You will also need 5 Durasteel in your inventory. To upgrade to level 10, you will need to complete a Home for All task, which stage 1 is clearing a site for the rebel command center by destroying debris within the hologram. Stage 2, Captain Bravara wants to stay indefinitely. Help her finish the rebel command center build. You will also need to complete the Surveillance Protocol task, which is building the Cantina stage in the rebel outpost so a certain someone can perform his shows. Each level to the rebel village provides rewards where you can get different builds, as well as a lightsaber when you reach level 6. While lightsabers are not craftable, there are multiple ways to get one of these mythic weapons. You receive your first lightsaber after reaching the rebel village level 6 and talking to Captain Bravara, who also gives you an access code for the Imperial bunkers. After that, you receive a lightsaber in the Imperial chest at the end of every bunker, where there are 15 total bunkers on the island. That means you get a max total of 16 lightsabers on your island, but since lightsabers do not break and only need a 10-minute cooldown when they lose their charge, charge, this is more than enough. There is no way to guarantee the color of the lightsaber that you will get, so hopefully you will get one that you want. There are 3 colors as of this video: blue, green, and red. They all do a flat 11 damage to enemies and builds alike, but they cannot be upgraded with essence. There are 6 new items introduced: the E11, the DL44, the thermal detonator, the macro binoculars, the bowcaster, and the lightsaber. The EL11 is an epic rarity full auto blaster that deals 3 damage per hit, used by various bucket heads throughout the island. The E11 can be dropped by stormtroopers, snowtroopers, and from Imperial chests, as well as crafted at the Rebel workbench. The recipe for the E11 is 10 plastoid, 3 scrap durasteel, 1 cut ruby, and 1 power cell. There is no ammo for this weapon, instead each shot expends durability and will break after a certain amount of shots. In my experience, this is the best weapon of the update. Even though you cannot equip essence, the full auto more than makes up for the 3 damage per shot as long as your aim is better than the bucket heads. Always having 1 or 2 extra of these blasters is a must for me. The DL44 is an epic rarity single shot blaster that deals 8 damage per hit, and it is the main weapon of Imperial officers, but it can also be found from opening Imperial chests at the end of bunkers and crafted at Rebel workbenches. The recipe for the DL44 is 6 durasteel, 1 power cell, and 2 cut ruby. There is no ammo for this weapon, instead each shot expends durability and will break after a certain amount of shots, just like the E11. Even though this weapon does more damage than the E11 per shot, I don't have the best aim with the Nintendo Switch controller, so the semi-auto fire rate can limit my hits. There also feels to be a bit of lag between each shot, no matter how fast you can pull the trigger on the controller. The DL44 is the worst weapon of the update in my opinion. The thermal detonator is an epic rarity and one of 2 new explosive weapons used by the Dark Trooper found in the Dry Valley and Frostlands bunkers. You can find thermal detonators in Imperial chests, as well as craft them at the Rebel workbench, where the recipe is 2 durasteel and 1 blast core each. The blast does 23 damage to enemies and structures alike, which is great for clearing out groups of bucketheads or large structures you want the resources for. I have found the AI for the troopers carrying blasters don't stop moving, so thermal detonators are best when you can sneak up on a group of troopers and throw 1 or 2 in. While thermal detonators are better than dynamite, I don't really recommend either for trying to clear out Imperial bunkers. The bowcaster is of epic rarity and the second explosive weapon introduced in the update, and it packs quite a punch. Dealing 15 damage on impact into the surrounding area within the explosion, the bowcaster is similar to the E11 and DL44, where it does not need any ammo, but each time you fire, it will drain the durability whether you hit anything or not. The bowcaster can be found within Imperial chests and looted off of snowtroopers carrying them in the Frostland bunkers, as well as you can craft these at the Rebel workbench for 10 durasteel, 3 cut amber, 3 cut sapphire, and 1 power cell. Even though these weapons do have pretty low durability and I find them breaking quickly, even fresh off the assembly line, I have a lot more success with defeating hordes of troopers with the bowcaster than other explosives. The lightsaber is a mythic weapon that deals 11 damage and cannot be crafted, but as previously mentioned, you can receive up to 16 of them per survival world. 1 from Captain Bravara when you level the Rebel village to level 6, and 1 for each Imperial chest at the end of each bunker. I have found that the lightsaber is fantastic in the grasslands and for destroying constructs that you don't care to get the resources back for, since constructs do not drop resources when destroyed by a lightsaber. Lightsabers are still pretty good in the Dry Valley since they have high durability, but some of the harder enemies like Dark Troopers and Sand Brutes can be a little tricky. Once you get to the Frostlands, I recommend using long swords with essences equipped, otherwise it will be a slog trying to defeat all the snowtroopers in the bunkers. The macro binoculars are not a weapon, but they are the best way to discover random Imperial encounters and bunkers. Craftable at the Rebel workbench, they need 4 plastoid, 2 glass, 1 basic compass, and 1 power cell. You do receive a pair of these binoculars when you first meet Captain Bravara after the rift opens in your world, so you shouldn't need to craft another pair unless you are playing with friends or somehow lose your original one. The LEGO Fortnite team confirmed they have patched the issue where if you talk to Captain Bravara for the first time and had a full inventory, then you would not get the macro binoculars. Unless you have already placed markers near bunkers and forts, I suggest always having a pair of macro binoculars in your inventory. 3 new resources were introduced: scrap durasteel, and plastoid. All of these resources can be found throughout the Star Wars island in a multitude of ways. Plastoid is the most common of the new resources and is needed for crafting recipes as well as build materials for some of the new Star Wars builds. Plastoid can be found by looting chests, destroying certain structures, or defeating bucketheads. I really enjoyed battling the new trooper enemies and absolutely adored swinging swinging around the lightsaber and cutting everything down, so defeating stormtroopers, scout troopers, and snow troopers were the quickest way I've found to gaining a lot of plastoid. While there are a lot of structures on the island, they do not respawn if destroyed, so just make sure you don't want to keep any of the various builds around that drop plastoid if you want to destroy those for your supply. Scrap Durasteel can be found from looting chests and destroying both Rebel and Imperial builds, as well as it is sometimes dropped by enemies, and even more rare, can just be lying around some of the Imperial bunkers. Scrap Durasteel is used for crafting the E11 blaster, but you can also smelt Scrap Durasteel into regular Durasteel at the metal smelter. It takes 2 Scrap Durasteel to create 1 Durasteel. Durasteel is the rarest of the new resources, but it is still pretty abundant. It can be found in chests, dropped by enemies, and just like its scrap counterpart, I have seen it lying on the ground in Imperial bunkers. Smelting Scrap Durasteel is the most consistent way to obtain the resource, especially if you are needing to make a lot of thermal detonators. There are 6 new enemies that can be found scattered throughout the Star Wars island. Stormtroopers can be found in both the grasslands and Dry Valley biomes, where their Dry Valley counterparts are much stronger. No matter the location, stormtroopers are usually carrying either the E11 blaster or a simple tool or sword. They are the most common trooper and make up a majority of the enemies in random encounters and Imperial bunkers in both grasslands and Dry Valley. They can drop plastoid, E11 blasters with about 20% durability left, or one of their random melee weapons or tools. Imperial officers can be found across all of the biomes, and usually there is at least one officer in every group of enemies. They are always carrying the DL-44 blaster, but they are usually manning some sort of terminal to sound the alarm and spawn more troopers. They have the same amount of health no matter what biome you are in, and they usually drop their DL-44 blaster when defeated. Scout troopers are the most rare trooper, but not the hardest to defeat. They only appear at the end of the Imperial bunkers in the grasslands, where 4 await you as the final boss of the bunker. They are usually wielding a melee weapon or tool and will try to swarm you, but they don't have much more health than the stormtroopers in the Dry Valley, so you should be able to dispose of them pretty quickly with the lightsaber. They can drop their weapons when defeated. Snow troopers are the most common bucket head within the Frostlands, replacing the stormtrooper for the random encounters in Imperial bunkers. They have a lot more health than the Dry Valley stormtrooper and can carry stronger melee weapons, the E11 blaster, and the explosive bowcaster, so make sure to armor up and have enough firepower yourself to defeat them. They have a chance to drop their weapons upon death, where the E11 and bowcaster are both around 20% durability left. Dark troopers are the hardest of all the troopers. They are the final boss of the Dry Valley and Frostland Imperial bunkers, and they carry a multitude of weapons. When you are up close, they brandish their hunting daggers to attack, but if you move too far away, they will either try to blow you up with thermal detonators or blast you with their DL-44 blasters. It is recommended to engage these troopers from a distance, but if you have to get up close and personal, make sure to have enough food and defense to regenerate all the health you're about to lose. This Star Wars update introduced 3 new encounter types on the Star Wars island. The first one is similar to the hooligans on the main island, where you will run into groups of Imperial troopers wandering this island. These groups are usually 3 to 5 enemies, mainly either stormtroopers or snowtroopers, depending on the biome you are in, as well as an Imperial officer. There is no chest or big reward for these groups other than the plastoid and weapons dropped upon defeating each enemy. The second encounter type is at forts, which are larger encampments filled with either stormtroopers or snowtroopers, again depends on the biome, and an Imperial officer that will sound the alarm the second you are spotted. While these forts have a lot more enemies, there is also an Imperial chest that you can open after defeating all of the bucketheads. These chests are not as good as the ones within bunkers, but they can still provide quite a variety of resources that can help you progress the rebel village. And you can always destroy all of the builds for extra plastoid and scrap Durasteel. The final encounter are the Imperial bunkers, which have 2 ways you can enter. You can either destroy the doors on the outside, or you can use the bunker code given to you by Captain Bravara once you reach a level 6 rebel village. Each biome has a different set of enemies within the bunker, but they all have a similar structure. There are 3 sections to each bunker, where you have to defeat all of the enemies of that section in order to lower the glowing red door at the end of each area. The final section not only has the most enemies, but it will also have a stronger boss-like enemy that will also have to be defeated. Once you clear the final section, you can enter the treasure room, which will have multiple normal chests and 1 Imperial chest. The Imperial chest always drops a lightsaber and a few random weapons, and then you will also receive a lot of various resources like plastoid and Durasteel. Grassland bunkers have stormtroopers, scout troopers, and Imperial officers, officers, while Dry Valley bunkers have the tougher stormtroopers, Imperial officers, and the Dark Trooper. Frostland bunkers will have snow troopers, Imperial officers, and the Dark Trooper. There are a ton of new Star Wars builds and plenty for both free-to-play players and pay-to-play players. By leveling up your Rebel village, you will receive different Rebel and Imperial builds as rewards that you can build anywhere within your world. Unfortunately, these unlocked builds only count for the specific world you are in, so you'll have to level up the Rebel village in every world you create in order to use them. But the new LEGO Pass introduced new builds for both the free tiers and the paid tiers, which once unlocked, these builds can be used within any world you play in. These new builds take a variety of resources, but they do have pieces that require some of the new resources, most notably Plastoid. So make sure to defeat some stormtroopers before you try to use some of the new builds, otherwise you might have to come back later to finish. All builds introduced in this update will stay unlocked and obtainable even after the event has ended, and if you are not able to unlock all of the tiers of the LEGO Pass, the LEGO Fortnite team did confirm that the builds will appear every now and again in the LEGO Fortnite shop, so you will have another chance at getting them. The LEGO Pass is separate from the main Battle Pass, but has tiers that are unlocked with studs, which are obtained by completing various quests within your LEGO Fortnite worlds, both survival and sandbox. Each tier takes 1,000 studs to complete, and there are 11 total tiers. Every player has access to the free tiers, which unlocks the Mos Eisley Marketplace at the final tier. The paid pass does not add any tiers, but instead grants you another unlock at each of the free tiers, as well as you get the Chewbacca skin immediately for purchasing the pass. Just like the regular Battle Pass quests, the LEGO Pass quests have daily, weekly, and milestone quests for both survival and sandbox. These quests are as simple as talking to a specific NPC that is in the Rebel village or defeating 6 Imperials, and give a reward of 10 to 185 studs depending on the difficulty. Within 2.5 hours from starting the event, I had already gotten 2,000 studs from quests, so even casual players will be able to complete the pass with ease. Let me know if I missed anything and what your favorite part of the update was, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.